Three.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the podcast, English John. Today, I'm delighted to be joined with John Towell from Just Law Solicitors.
Hi,
So,
John.
John,
How are you?
thanks ever so much for joining us today. I'm doing
Yep.
really well. It's Monday, and we seem
Monday.
to have got past this horrible bit of rain. So,
Yeah, it's been a bit bad over your way, hasn't it?
full steam ahead. Full
Yeah, we'll
steam
be
ahead.
we'll be laughing in the summer come the water in, so no problem.
Excellent. So, look, I wanted to discuss today some of the more serious aspects with regards to moving to Spain.
Yeah.
Now, I've explained to people in the past that this isn't just like coming on a holiday and never leaving.
No.
We need to get things right before we come here.
Yeah.
Ideally, a minimum 12 months in advance is the time period that I work with people,
Yeah.
as so that we can avoid issues.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Even despite my best efforts, some people just will not listen and they go about it themselves and they make horrendous mistakes
Yeah.
that cost a lot of time and money. And in some cases, backfire to the point where they just get refused visas.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to go through with you today is going to be the legendary Spanish bureaucracy.
Yeah. That's why we're here. Yeah.
And it's so different from the UK. So,
Yeah.
is there anything that any light you can shed on this for people that are new to moving over?
Well, basically, it's like England. There's no legal requirement to use a lawyer, but you just would use a lawyer, especially it's in a foreign language and you're buying um, abroad. It's a completely different legal jurisdiction. I won't bore you with the details, but we have English law and the continent has Roman law, and it's just completely different. There's one thing people could take away from this video is take independent legal advice from a lawyer with a bar registration number. If there's one thing you can take from this video. There's a lot more, but if there's one thing.
Okay, okay, good. And a lot of people, they are of the opinion that they should jump straight into purchasing a home when they come to Spain. But you know that we advise to try before you buy and rent.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a huge amount of money. The equivalent of stamp duty, which is called purchase tax, is much higher. Um, you don't want to pop up in the winter or the summer and think it's for you. It can be very different winter, summer, depending on where you are, busy, temperatures. It's just, yeah, rent for a year, come in at the very least, come in the winter and the summer. And we'll talk about the dangers of renting at some point, I presume.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because one of the things that I see online a lot, and I've seen it in the Move to Spain group, is somebody they pay a deposit to let's say, a landlord or somebody who
Yeah.
they believe is a landlord, and then all of a sudden they realize that they've fallen victim to the vanishing deposit scam.
Yeah, happens a lot. Yeah, we do a lot of rental reviews at the law firm. The problem is people can just put the big main scam is you just invent a property and put it online. People are desperate. You take all the deposits off all the different people, ask them for a year in advance, 6 months in advance, then just disappear. So that's one main one. Another main scam is you just rent it on Airbnb, pretend you're the landlord, and off you go. A bit more credible, get a load of deposits, few months rent in advance from I don't know how many people, and then off you go again. That can happen as well. Yeah.
Okay, so it's safe to say that it is possible, and people do every day lose large amounts of money to scams.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because they don't take legal advice. Yeah.
Okay.
But they don't
Okay.
have to legally. I'm not saying that it's the law they take legal advice, but it's recommended. Yeah.
And I've personally been there when I've taken people out on a tour and we've had the option to go and view a property. And as soon as they go inside, they're jumping up and down and they're literally begging whoever it is there that's got the keys to the property
Mm,
to take their money. I've seen that with my own eyes. So I
yeah.
always say to people, want to play it cool, check out that this is legit,
Yeah.
understand what you're signing, because a lot of the time they're going to get people to sign agreements that are in Spanish. Is that right?
Absolutely. What we do is obviously all laws in all legal contracts in Spain have to be in Spanish, but what we do is we just have the English on the other side. So it's like a dual column. But yeah, they technically have to sign in Spanish, but all our contracts are with the English on the other side. You're not doing anything legally wrong by only signing the Spanish document, but for what of a legal word, you'd have to be nuts to do it.
Okay, yeah, because most people especially Brits, we are still in the process of learning Spanish
Yeah, and
when
even if
we come to
John, even if you
Spain.
knew Spanish, unless you'd done a like a master's degree, I wouldn't sign a Spanish contract, even if
Okay,
you thought you knew Spanish. Yeah,
good. Well, guys, everybody, you heard it here. If you're thinking about just jumping into it because your mind is telling you the only thing you need to do to live the dream is to say yes there and then to the agent or the landlord and sign what they're
mm,
asking, hold off
mm,
on that because it
yeah,
could backfire on you big time.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, good. So we've identified that there's some bureaucracy that are going to be challenging us. There's dangers to renting. And then
yeah,
when it comes to purchasing properties, so obviously things in Spain are very different, and there's a lot of people that have been burnt in the past with illegally built properties,
yeah.
stuff that's got debts attached to it.
Mm.
I've seen personally a very well-known agent. I'm not going to name any names, but he is telling people online, you do not need to use a lawyer, but
I
there's
see that all the
dangers.
time. Yeah, I see that
Yeah.
all the time. Yeah, yeah,
So what are the
absolutely.
dangers here for people that don't take legal advice
Well,
when buying a property?
there's lots of things that can happen. Is number one, you could just pay the deposit and the agent could just disappear, just like a rental. That could
Okay.
happen. Um, you might not have what's called a reservation contract, which allows the lawyer to carry out legal checks. That could happen. You could pay your deposit. Who's holding the deposit? How much is the deposit? You know, um, are the debts attached to the property? Are the boundaries right? Is the property illegal? Can the property be legalized? A lot of people run in fear when they find out it's illegal, but it can be legalized. That's a possibility. And what I need to stress, and we mentioned it before, is the notary doesn't cover. People think, oh, I can just go to the notary. The notary, there's a lot of the stages the notary's not interested in. He's not interested in the reservation contract. He's not interested in the arras contract. He's not interested in the community debts, things like that. And another thing people don't do is, for some reason, it goes out of their head to have a survey the minute they land on Spanish soil.
Yes, correct.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And people have been burnt with these reservation agreements as well, haven't they?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Because a reservation contract has to be drafted by your lawyer to be in your favor. If things go wrong, like okay, I carry out some legal checks at the law firm, or Belen, it wouldn't be me, it'd be Belen, and it's all wrong. Okay, well, we want our money back. Well, where's the person we paid the money to? They've gone. Who's holding the money? I mean, what you want to do is you want a mechanism where the person holding the money, if it's not, we don't want to be too gloomy, but if it goes wrong, you've got to be able to quickly get that money back. You don't want to launch into a big court case to try and get your 10% back, but because some agents just disappeared with it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been floating around online for a while now, and I will see pretty much every single week somebody says they've lost the deposit. And there was an example a while ago where a couple were buying a property in Algorfa, which is in Alicante province,
Hmm.
and they wanted to rent it out on the side of having it as a holiday home.
Ah, right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Because what you
But they
do,
were,
yeah,
yeah,
you
they
need to
were
make
refused
sure
the
that it's got a
license.
tourist license. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so they couldn't get it. They pulled out. They lost their money.
yeah,
And the reason for that is they fully admit we had zero legal advice because
yeah.
that could have been prevented. Am I
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It could be like I'm paying the reservation contract deposit, or RAS contract deposit on a certain basis. And one of those bases is, for example, the survey is going to come back good. You're the legal owner. I can get a tourist license on this place. That could be one of the things. But if you just go in and sign something in Spanish, or even if it's in English as well, you need the contract has to be drafted in your favor. You don't want to just sign anything. There's no
Yeah.
government legal thing that says this is the standard contract, this has to be signed. It's all by contractual negotiation.
Okay. Okay. Good. And obviously, a lot of people they just don't have any idea that this is going to be the case when they come to Spain. Because I've always said to
Oh,
people that when you go and buy a home in the UK, you're protected by the three words subject to contract.
yeah.
So what that means is that you make an offer to the seller. In
Mm,
an ideal world, they accept the offer subject to contract. It could take 2 to 3 months to get to exchange of
yeah.
contracts. At which point, any time up until then, you can walk away with zero financial
Yeah.
repercussions.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
agents in Spain, they're going to move to qualify your commitment to the transaction by having you sign a deposit agreement and pay a deposit as soon as your offer is
Yeah.
accepted. Am I
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. There can be, well, there's the reservation contract, which allows the lawyers to carry out legal checks. And then there's something called an ARAS, or like an earnest money contract. And there's lots of different types of them, which we go through with the client. And the ARAS is binding. So by the time you get to the ARAS, hopefully you've had a survey, it's legal. You've spoken to a lawyer and you've basically said to your lawyer, only acting for you, with a bar registration number, should I sign this document? And lawyers, yeah, that's then yeah, you're in. You committed. Yeah.
Okay. And in reality, not everybody does that. That's why people get burnt.
No, no. I mean, we only see the people that most of the time we only see the people that come to us and they take advice from us from the start. But a lot of people have said, "Oh, I've signed the contract. I need some legal advice now." We're like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I see that every day. Okay, fantastic. Now, on to another area that causes a lot of confusion for people. It's the immigration side of things.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
obviously, for non EU passport holders, we need visas.
Yeah.
And I speak with a lot of people that are coming over on the digital nomad visa as well as the self employed visa.
Yeah.
And I had a conversation with a gentleman who is, as of now, he's actually living here illegally. So I'm not going to mention who he is. But I
Right.
asked
Probably
him, why
best.
did it go wrong with your digital nomad visa? So it turns out that he went with a company that are charging around five to 600 euros for the help for the digital nomad visa,
Right.
which immediately gave me warning signs because
Yeah.
red flags. It's cheap,
Yeah. It's cheap.
and
Yeah.
he moved to Spain. He's put his application in, and then it's been refused.
Right.
Okay,
Okay. Yeah.
so he's now living here illegally. And I asked him what the issue was, and he
Mm.
said, "Well, John, they just didn't give me the correct advice." And I said to him, to be blunt, this is because you've gone cheap on the quality of the immigration assistance that you've got. So
Yeah.
again, I know it's an area that people think I'd love to save some money on, but there are dangers to saving
Yeah.
money on quality immigration help, right?
Yeah. I'm guessing we haven't had a conversation before, me and John, on this, but I'm guessing that the advice didn't come from a Spanish lawyer with a bar registration number. Is that right?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. Well,
No,
there
it
you
was one
go.
of
Yeah.
these. It was one of these
Mm.
little relocation companies that do absolutely everything when they really shouldn't be doing work in visas.
Well, that's it. I mean, we didn't wake up in the morning and decide that we were experts in what we did. It took us a long time to get here.
Yeah,
You've lived here for umpteen years. I've been here for 10 years. I'm an English lawyer. I mean, I've got 8 lawyers behind me, probably literally, to give advice. And really, the only person, like I said before, you should be taking advice from on legal stuff is a Spanish lawyer with a bar registration number who's only
yes,
acting for you. Um, this gentleman, I mean, obviously we haven't discussed the case with John, but this gentleman may be able to get something called a RIGO after a couple of years, which
yes.
legalizes the situation. So it's not doom and gloom. But if anyone else is thinking of doing this, don't do it. Get legal advice from your lawyer. I mean, Anna and Ivan, we've got two specialist full-time lawyers, and we can't guarantee it, but we've got 100% success record so far.
Yeah, and I've actually, because of obviously our relationship that's been going for some years now, I've actually passed him over. So I'm confident that he's going to be here legally pretty soon.
Yeah.
But he's full of regret. He's walking around Spain. He's trying to get on with his life, and he can't
Mm.
because he feels like there's a ball and chain around his legs.
Well, absolutely, because if he gets pulled for something, I mean, he's done more than 90 days, then,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
The
I
other
just,
side of it is,
yeah.
go on.
Sorry, just add, John, that we're recording this on the 13th, and yesterday, the 12th, a new system came in called EES. It doesn't apply to people like me and John because we're residents. But what it is it digitally records when you enter the Schengen area. So there's no argument now about the 90 days and the 180 day. It's yeah,
Okay, excellent, excellent. Now, another area that people are worried about is, let's say they're selling a property in the United Kingdom, or they're going to get a cash gift, an
yeah,
inheritance, any
yeah,
type of capital gain,
yeah,
moving to Spain and
yeah,
ending up paying taxes on it, or being faced in some years with a
yeah,
tax fine because they weren't
yeah,
upfront with Spanish tax authorities because they know little about Spanish tax regulation.
yeah,
So we can assume that you're playing with fire if you do not take into
yeah,
consideration any regulated tax advice. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the big problem that, I mean, I think it's the same in America and Canada, but if you make a gain on your primary residence in the UK, sorry, America, I think it's the same, then that's tax free. Happy days. Problem is, say, for example, I'll give a pretty simple example. 1st of January, you sell your house in the UK and you complete. 2nd of January, you move to Spain. In that tax year in Spain is January to December, not like the English one, April to April, January to December. So you are going to spend 183 days or more in Spain in that year because you came on the 2nd of January. That makes you a Spanish tax resident. That means that you get taxed on that gain, even if it's in the UK. For example, I mean, that's the very, very, very basic thing. But the point is, you can save tens and tens of thousands in tax by just speaking to a tax lawyer. We've got Pablo, but again, a Spanish tax lawyer with a bar registration number, not somebody who's decided they're going to be a tax expert, one morning.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can get badly burnt in Spain. And I've always said
Mm.
in the UK, the chances of somebody going out and paying for unregulated tax advice off of a business is almost non-existent.
Yeah, you wouldn't go to somebody over a laundrette with a tax consultant and go, all right, you'd go to the proper person. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. In Spain, however, you have to find the real professionals that are regulated. This is why, as
Yeah.
standard, we include in our relocation packages
Mm.
assistance from Just Law solicitors, specifically regarding the working visas, buying property,
Yeah. Thank you.
and tax planning.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, the way that you're going to plan your taxes, it may change the steps that you have to take in the 12 to 24 months before moving over, such as when are you going to put your property on the market?
Yeah.
Based on when it's going to sell or the projected sale, when are you going to enter the country? Now,
Mm.
I have had people that have seen one or two of my videos and they've said to me, John, I got a capital gain of £500,000 from selling my house in London. I moved to Spain and I qualified for tax residency in year one.
I have no words.
I'm like, this is unbelievable because the tax on this is outrageous. But this catches people out every day,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, John makes a good point there because before we were talking about the Schengen Agreement and the 90 days, but for tax, it's just entering and leaving Spain. So
Yeah.
even though you do come to Spain, like the classic, like the example of a person that came on, say they came on the 2nd of January, they completely mucked it up. They didn't go to John, didn't speak to Pablo. Right, what do I do? Well, get the hitch out of Spain, go
Yeah.
to wherever, just leave Spain and then come into Spain just for more than 183 days. So it can be solved. But if you've gone past 183 days, then yeah, you're in massive trouble. Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously, what then happens is an individual would be faced with the dilemma of, do I own up to this with the Spanish
Oh,
authorities
yeah.
or
Yeah.
do I keep quiet about it? So, one of the things that I say is maybe you do decide to keep quiet about it and maybe they don't find out. But in the event they do, not only are they going to back tax you, they're
Mm.
going to fine you on top. So,
Yeah.
this could be something that you just can't financially recover from.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible expensive. I mean, yeah, it's one of those things that you would never think for 1 minute that the gain on your house in, for example, the UK, Canada, or whatever, is going to be taxed in Spain. You'd never reasonably think that. That's why you should always take advice.
Yeah. And as I said, the advice is not particularly expensive.
No, not for just for a consultation. No, no, absolutely not.
No,
And we can
prevention's
also give an
always,
estimate on what taxes you would pay if you became a resident in Spain. So, and believe me, a lot of people ask us before they move because they want to get all the ducks in a row. How much is it going to cost me? And obviously there's a double taxation agreement with America, Canada, UK, so you don't pay the tax twice. So there is
yeah.
that.
Yeah, absolutely. And prevention's always better than cure because cleanup
Absolutely.
is expensive in Spain.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, great. So the other thing that I want to discuss briefly is how people send their money from, let's say, America,
Mm,
Canada, or the UK
mm.
to Spain, because I've seen online that somebody's gone on and seen 0% fees, and then they've used a dodgy currency broker, and
Yeah,
the money's never arrived to Spain.
yeah.
So, what do we do to be safe?
It's just the same as a lawyer. You act for, I think it's called an electronic money changing license. I might have got that wrong, but there's a special license that a currency broker has, and you can use all these apps and stuff. But even when I bought mine and I worked for a law firm, there's John will know currency brokers. I know currency brokers, but there's a lady I know. I've met her in the real world, and I prefer that than just pushing a button on hundreds of thousands of pounds.
Yeah,
But each to
yeah.
their own.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I was recently speaking with a lady called Dawn Coleman, who's at Currencies Direct, and they've
Hmm.
got a very good reputation.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah.
explaining to her, like, you know, is something like, let's say, an online bank safe? And she says, John, generally they're safe. The main issue is, let's say that you're sending money from the UK to Spain and you need to complete
Hmm.
on a property purchase, let's say a week to 2 weeks later, and
Yeah,
you're sending such a large sum that they freeze your account and
yeah,
it's frozen for a good long while.
yeah. And then
Speaking to,
you could get a penalty from the
yeah,
contract that we spoke about before.
exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
for
And
failing to complete.
the other thing is make sure your lawyer has an independent, special, separate client account as well. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Brilliant. So what we're saying here, guys, is that as much as moving to Spain is bucket list and it is a complete dream, and the reality is when you're here, it is far better than any lifestyle that I would ever be able to achieve in the UK.
yeah. Well, I'm here. You're here. Yeah,
In order for this to actually work out and have the most chance of success going forward, we've got to plan this a minimum 12 to 18 months in
yeah.
advance.
I think so. Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
and
because otherwise you're going to run into trouble
yeah,
and then you're going to be paying for cleanup.
yeah. I mean, you've got to remember that earlier this year we had the golden visa. That's gone. So
Yeah.
you wouldn't know that unless you're taking advice. The digital nomad visa is relatively new. So
Yes.
I'm not saying I don't know anything big on the horizon that's coming, but you take advice because the sand does shift.
Of course, of
Yeah,
course. And again, a lot of people they just don't speak enough Spanish to get through this alone. And I have seen people that
yeah,
apply for visas and they've never done anything like this before. They ring me up and they're like, John, it's been months. We've not heard anything. And I said, who did the visa application? They're like, we did it. And I'm like, I mean, I
yeah.
don't know what prompted that, but some people like to do that. And I do get some pushback online where people say, John, you're telling people to pay for service. But realistically speaking, it's one of the things in life that you do not want to get wrong because
No.
this isn't a holiday. This is you for your forever lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. And even if, like I said before, even if you've got a master's degree in Spanish, you're not a Spanish lawyer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And obviously, the on the ground help that I offer with regards to moving specifically to Costa Blanca deals with all of the things that a lawyer is not necessarily going to want to discuss because
Yeah,
you guys
absolutely.
deal with the legal aspects of it.
Yeah,
Whereas,
people say to me, I want a family orientated uh, fishing village that isn't too touristy. And I'm like, "Oh." I just put Fuengirola every time and say, but there's millions of others.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's between
And
us, there must be
equally,
millions of people ask that question, John. Yeah.
oh, absolutely. And
Yeah.
equally, a lot of the stuff, to be brutally honest, is a complete waste of time for a lawyer to answer because it's
We
not in the
Well,
legal domain.
it wouldn't be in our remit. We just wouldn't be able to do it. I
Yeah,
mean, I on the Muslim Facebook group, I might say like one place, but I do that just out of because I'm annoyed with it really. And I just put, look, there's so many different places. And if they
yeah,
say Costa Blanca, I say, look, you're best off with John. And you said before, it saves you so much time, to
so much
get the
time.
information from you. You've got to drive all the way around the Costa Blanca. You've got to experience it in all the different seasons. You've got to go inland. You've got to look at every agent and every price, or they could just say to you, look, this is my budget. What can I
Yeah,
afford and where? And you can go. And all these people that I want to live inland, you could give them the reality.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, look, I think that's been a fantastic few points discussed today. Is there
All right. Thank
anything
you.
that you want to add, or
Are we telling them how great Elche is, or are we just going to keep that quiet?
we'll keep that quiet until the next video?
All right. Okay.
All right, guys. Well, look, a massive thanks to you, John, for joining us today. And for everybody
Anytime.
that's considering a move to Spain, if you're thinking Costa Blanca, message me for help. because obviously we work in conjunction together with Just Law solicitors. So you're going to be well taken care of. And
Yeah,
you want to get this right from the
yeah,
start, because
yeah,
otherwise you could regret it.
absolutely. Okay, well, thanks, John. Thank
No
you.
worries. Thank
Okay,
you. Bye
thank you.
bye.
Bye.